The idea of the fear of the Lord has been running around in my head in the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to come on here and kind of talk about that because I feel like a lot of people misunderstand this, right? The Bible commands us to fear the Lord. It says that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord, and that we should do it. We're commanded, fear the Lord, right? And yet, we're told also to boldly approach the throne in the New Testament, and that we've not been given a spirit of fear. And so there's this little distinction between, like, okay, I'm supposed to fear God, and then I'm also supposed to boldly approach the throne, and God comes as Jesus and says that he calls us friends. And so it's like, well, how am I supposed to be afraid of that? Why should I be afraid of that? And that's the distinction, right? Like, what does it mean to fear God? And do we do that? The reason I've been thinking about this is because I'm like, do I fear the Lord enough? Have I been living a lifestyle that fears God enough? And really, what it is, what we're talking about in both the Old and New Testament in the original languages, you guys could look them up, is that it's this idea of reverence. And yes, you can use it for like normal fear. And so someone could say, well, you can't just pick one word and just decide that it's reverence and not fear. I would just respond and say, like, even in the English language, we use different word or the same word for different meanings, right? Um, Big can mean different things depending on what you're comparing the size to. Love means something different compared to what you're talking about. And so fear in the original languages can mean different things based on how you say it. And so with this distinction of reverence and fear, that kind of helps people who might have some anxiety. Maybe they're new to Christianity, or they're wrestling with this idea of, like, I was told God is so good and loving, and now I'm reading the Bible for the first time, taking it super deep, and you know, told I'm supposed to fear God. I don't know how I'm supposed to relate to a God I'm supposed to fear. And here's kind of like a better way to think about it with regard to reverence, because we also don't use reverence in our normal language very often either. Is it's about seeing yourself rightly in the eyes of God. Right? The Bible talks about how God is completely other. He's very different. He's distinct. In Isaiah, it says, my ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts, right? Like, we humans do a very poor job of recognizing how much different God is than us. And when we ponder that, when you ponder, wow, God, you are so different. You are so other. You are so far beyond my understanding, and yet you came as Jesus Christ and lived among us. Well, came in Jesus Christ, the Trinity, not as, he didn't change forms. It's like, man, wait, and then you get even to the Trinity, you're like, what does that mean? And then you think about how long he's been around, that the word long doesn't even apply to him because he's outside of time. And you're like, okay, I'm dealing with a being that I don't know how to know unless he helps me, which he does in Jesus Christ and the scriptures and revealing himself, right? All through Genesis till now and on to Revelation, right? God has revealed himself to people. And it's this recognition that, like, man, like, God is distinctly different, and he calls me friends. He calls me a friend. He calls me close. He says, come here. He says, boldly approach the throne. And we can do that with this understanding of, like, there might be a fair amount of holy trepidation when you're approaching God, even maybe in how you pray, how you act, right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom because it helps us recognize that, wow, God is in every moment of my life. And that means every moment of my life needs to honor him. And so I need to submit to the scriptures and do that. And his ways are really good. Every command he gives leads to the flourishing of humanity. And so you think about that in that sense, and you're like, wow, it's the beginning of wisdom. And you're like, well, that makes sense, because if God is what wisdom is, and I am recognizing who he is, and I'm adjusting my life in response of who he is, then I'm sure I'll probably learn a thing or two. But yeah, it's this recognition of, wow, God, you're different. You're massively farther beyond anything I can understand. And yet you love me, you call me friend, you saved me. And also when you see the righteousness of God, his judgments make sense as well. If you have like a problem with hell, just think about the holiness of God and his justice and his judgment, and And when you realize how much different, how pure, how perfect, how different he is, you're like, wow, I deserve hell and he didn't give it to me. Thank you, God. And you don't really have a problem with it because you're like, man, yeah, that makes sense. And so, if people have a problem with hell, makes sense, wrestle through it. It's a tough subject, but also think about the fear of the Lord. And then also, we in our churches maybe could use some more fear of the Lord. Sometimes I've been in circles where we just kind of talk lightly about the things of God, and it's not okay. Or in our own minds, even going even deeper, we can think lightly of the things of God. We can, I don't know, just not be as thankful or as grateful as we should be sometimes for what God has done. And I was like, man, if I find myself doing that, I need to get in tune with the fear of the Lord and the reverence and my awe again, and stir up my awe for God. And so, just some thoughts on the fear of the Lord. If you're listening to this and you like this kind of content, subscribe, leave a comment, because I'd like to make more of these. And I try as well as I can to make content when I can. Specifically right now, it's been busy, but let me know in the comments what other topics you'd be interested in hearing about.